Hey guys, welcome to the first of a three-part miniseries I've named Index, which is a cinematic retelling of all three notable Forerunner wars in a chronological order. Before we begin with the first episode, which is of course the Forerunner-Precursor War, don't forget to leave a like on this video as this series has taken me a lot of work and editing. Let's go for the usual 600. In 10 million BCE, there was a hierarchy of power within the galaxy, with the Precursors sitting right at the very top. They were the seeders of the galaxy, the creators of all life and holders of the mantle of responsibility, so they deserved their spot. They created one race in particular of whom would be absolutely detrimental to their future: the Forerunners. After some secret preparation, the Forerunners rose up and rallied against the Precursors. This came as a huge shock to the Precursors, as the two species had previously lived in harmony within the galaxy, with no bad intentions against one another. A massive scale war erupted, and the Forerunners managed to drive the Precursors out of the Milky Way galaxy. Under the leadership of the warrior servants, the Forerunners chased the Precursors out of the Milky Way and into the satellite galaxy known as Path Cathona. It was here where they finished their genocidal work, driving the Precursors to near extinction. However, the Forerunners who went to Path Cathona couldn't live with the horror of their actions and the burden of what they'd done, so they ultimately never even returned to the Milky Way. Some even defied their commanders and invoked the mantle. These warrior servants were either executed or exiled to a barren planet, where they would later remain as the only Forerunner survivors of the fleet that travelled to Path Cathona. The Forerunners believed they'd eradicated all living Precursors in known existence, but there was one who remained, one who claimed to be the last of its kind. This Precursor was known as the Primordial. It stated that some Precursors survived by escaping from the Forerunners' reach. Those who survived either went into a suspended animation or ground themselves down into a fine dust or powder, which would later regenerate themselves into their former selves. Over this time, the dust or powder became defective, creating sickness and disease, and when ultimately used to resurrect the Precursors, it instead turned them into the earliest form of the Flood. With this new form and their eternal anger from the Forerunners' gargantuan act of betrayal, the Precursors vowed to never let their creations rise up against them again, although this wouldn't happen for almost 10 million years. The Forerunner-Precursor War is a topic that still, to this day, is shrouded in much mystery. Many details are obscure and contradictory, or were lost or destroyed, some sources say intentionally by the Forerunners. Some Forerunners who later learned of the event said the Precursors planned to eradicate the Forerunners, as they had done with many of their creations in the past, which would therefore justify the Forerunners' genocide. This information was learned by the librarian from the Forerunners' Path Cathona Biological Memory Reserve, which had also recorded memories of the early Forerunners who actually fought in the war itself. However, there are conflicting reports that come from the Gravemind, who is obviously on the side of the Precursors, who stated that the Forerunners attacked the Precursors after being enraged by their decision to pass the mantle onto humanity instead of them. The Gravemind later said that the Precursors didn't retaliate or even defend themselves at all, due to their utter astonishment at the level of violence the Forerunners were truly capable of. That's all for part 1 of the Index. Don't forget to leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts on the Forerunner-Precursor War, and join me next time as we take an in-depth look at the Forerunner-Human War, a war that was set 10 million years after the eradication of the Precursors, and a war that would change the galaxy forever.